So today we're going to talk about something I see a lot in my comment section, and that is the claim that homesteading is only for rich people. And I think what happens is there are people who kind of get drawn into homesteading. They like the idea, this romantic idea of living out here away from the hustle and bustle. And I get it, man. I used to go to work every day and be stuck in traffic for an hour there and an hour back. It makes you just want to go crazy. So I understand that frustration. I totally do. And so you look into homesteading, you look into getting into something like this, or, some land, or buying building a house in a place that's more rural. And you look at the prices of everything today, especially, and you're just like, I could never do this. I could never do this. It's too much money. This is a rich person's game where you get out there and you have all this money, and then, these people must be millionaires. And I absolutely object to that. And I even find it offensive, even though I don't think people who leave these comments are trying to offend me. They're just speaking from a place of ignorance. And so I give you a pass. I give you a pass. But let me explain how this is done. Where I live, this is one of the poorest counties in one of the poorest states in America. Okay, this is the OZARKs. And I know there are lots of places like this, and Appalachia as well. There's a lot of people who are poor. I get it. Understand that I am not rich by any stretch of the imagination. I had a very good job back when I was living in St. Louis, but I was not rich. I made like $80,000 a year. I was on my way to sort of middle management if I'd have stayed in my career, which was doing upper end branding, marketing, design. All that to say, I had a good job, but I wasn't rich. Okay, at the time I drove an Olds Cutlass sedan. And we had an old Kia Sportage. That was the car I drove. An old one. Anyway, all that to say, we moved out here, and me and my in-laws, Jamie's parents, we all pooled our money together, and we bought, 56 acres. And from here, we basically lived off the grid from the get-go. We didn't put anything fancy in. We purchased manufactured homes, and, there was nothing here on this land. This was raw land. And we carved out our own existence for that first, number of years. And so what I want to talk about today is going through these steps. Homesteading is for rich people, how we got started. Let's just go through number one. And before I begin that, I'm going to ask the question now and at the end, how bad do you want it? Because what I'm about to describe to you is not going to be something that's easy. Okay, if you're rich, if you have millions of dollars, you can make this very easy. But if you're not rich and you don't have lots of money, you can still do it, but it's going to be a little bit harder. And so I asked the question, how bad do you want it? Bare land, there was nothing here. We carved out our own existence. Now we have a number of buildings on the homestead. We have our homes on the homestead. We have some infrastructure here, but we've been here now for 12 years. So it took us time to carve out that existence and to make things the way we wanted to make them. For the first year living off grid, for the first year of living in this rural area and, leaving the city, we ate nothing but beans and rice and oatmeal. Beans, rice, and oatmeal. Because we were trying to save money. We were trying to put that money into things that were going to be able to get us through, to another side, where I could start working again. I wasn't working. I left my job. And it took me time to reestablish, at the time, web clients and web design business and things like that, to be able to earn money again. And so it just took time. And so we cut costs wherever we could. And so beans, rice, and oatmeal was on the menu for the day. And to this day, my oldest son will still not eat oatmeal because oatmeal was what was for breakfast every single day. And he got so disgusted by that, he was like, I'm not going to eat that ever again. He ate that for like a year. But what are you willing to do? How bad do you want it? we hauled water into our home. We got the homes built here and got them in place. They were manufactured homes. And we were hauling water by hand into the home. I would say Jamie was hauling water by hand, her and her mother, into the homes for the daily use, because women need water the most. Okay, they need it for dishes, for laundry, for children, for all these different things. Women need water the most, and so that's why you look back throughout history. It was always the women. Even in the Bible, the women went to the well to draw water. Women need water the most, and so they were hauling water in by hand. We were basically canning over a fire. We didn't have a stove to can our produce over. The first couple years of gardening, we basically, there's a lot of mosquitoes around here. I'm going to be waving my hands even more than usual in this video. Okay. So we were canning over a fire, canning over a wood fire. We were doing all of these things that you wouldn't normally do because that's how we had to do them in order to get by. Okay. How bad do you want it? You're going to go through there are families who live on my road who have done like we have done. And we lived in a pool behind camper. We lived in a pool behind camper for the first year. Until we got the houses for a year, we lived in a pool behind camper. I think ours was ours was like a 20-foot camper. Tim and Joanne's camper was like a 16-foot camper. Okay. We lived in there for a year with no heat, no electricity. And in the wintertime, we left in the fall and got here in the fall and with a 7-week-old baby. Caleb was only 7 weeks old. But we did it. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? But there are people here on my road, they have lived in a tent. Several different families have lived in a tent for their first year of existence or more, to just get by, to be able to eke out that existence because they didn't have the infrastructure yet. They weren't made of money. And so they came out here and they were like, we're going to live in a tent for the first year until we can get the things ready and things in place before we can start building and doing it the way we want to have it done and done right. How bad do you want it? Are you willing to live in a tent for a year with your family? Are you willing to eat beans and rice, haul water by hand? Doing all the things you do, showering in less than ideal circumstances, or maybe not even every day. Are you willing to do what needs to be done in order to get what you want? Some people are, and there are many people who are not willing to do that. Let me just say, I have seen people come and go through the years. The first certain amount of years you're going to be doing this, you're going to be in survival mode. So that's number 2. Survival mode. A plan for this. A 1 to 3, a 3 to 5, and a 5 to 10. The first 1 to 3 years you're going to be doing this, you're going to be in survival mode. And that means you're going to be doing things that are going to be hard, they're going to be tough, they're going to be not ideal, but you're in a mode in order to get infrastructure built so that once you get all the infrastructure built, you can transition out of survival mode into maintenance mode. And that takes, I would estimate based on what I have seen over the last 12 years, about 1 to 3 years of time. The first year to your third year, you're going to be definitely in survival mode. You're going to be building infrastructure. You're going to be setting up things so that they're going to be easier later on. And then once you hit that 3-year mark, you should be, if you're doing things right, you should be now transitioning into maintenance mode. You're not there yet, but you're transitioning into that time. And then after that 5-year mark, you're just going to be coasting into maintenance mode. And then at that point, you have a way to continue to build your sustainability, build your income streams. Again, remember, I've said in many videos, if you think of yourself as a career and having a title, I'm a this or I'm a that, and that's how I make my living, you're doing homesteading wrong. You want to have multiple revenue streams coming in and being able to use those multiple revenue streams as support. That's the way pioneers and homesteaders have always existed, always. You're growing hay and harvesting hay. You're raising some animals. You're selling some animals. You're raising eggs or, selling eggs or chickens, or you're maybe, trading sewing, task or whatever. You're doing all of these different things that homesteaders have done throughout the ages. I remember there was a John Wayne movie that was I watched, Sons of Katie Elder, and the general store owner, his mother was giving piano lessons as a way to earn some extra income. Oh, and sewing dresses. She was giving piano lessons and sewing dresses in order to make extra income. And this was the owner of the general store. So it's like, that's the way, that's historically accurate. When you go back and you read these books, they always had multiple seasonal revenue streams. So once you've got that established, around your 5-year mark, you're starting to establish that, you can continue to build those revenue streams for the next 5 years. And so, the 5 to 10 year mark. So you got 1 to 3 survival mode, 3 to 5 transitioning into maintenance mode, and then from 5 to 10, you're in maintenance mode, or at least you're getting hopefully close there, and then you're building projects to increase revenue streams and maintain those revenue streams and grow those revenue streams. I hope that makes sense. All right. Then number 3, homesteading is about preserving wealth. If you do this thinking you're going to get rich, I got another thing coming. I'm in the OZARKs and I'm looking at all the rocks in front of me. If I could sell rocks, I'd be a rich man because I got plenty of rocks. But that's about all I got. You're not going to get rich. Homesteading, however, you can preserve wealth, because you can use the things that you do on this homestead as you're building, getting out of infrastructure or the survival mode and building infrastructure and getting into maintenance mode. You can preserve a lot of wealth. And then you can, make that wealth into generational wealth that you pass down to your children. And it's up to you to raise your children in a way where they recognize the wealth that you're giving them, because here's what happens to most of these people. I wasn't planning on going down this road in this video, but here we are. Most people around here raised up children or grandchildren, and they get a taste of the city and all the glitz and the glamour, and they see how delicious all that is. And then as soon as mom and dad or grandma and grandpa get old enough to kick the bucket, cha-ching, they sell the land and go to Vegas or Disney World or wherever, weirdo pagan people go nowadays. But, to celebrate and sow their oats and, get involved in all their sin. So, because the world is a very attractive place. So you must raise your children to understand what an amazing thing you're doing here, and so that you can pass that on down to them. They need to understand the value of what you're doing, because it has great generational value. You're not going to get rich, but you are going to preserve wealth, and you are going to build generational wealth that you can pass down. You're building a legacy. Understand, you're building a legacy. Survival and lifestyle. We hear about stories about people during the Depression who didn't know about the Depression. You'll read these stories about people who lived during that time, but they were sustainable enough. They had a sustainable enough lifestyle, and they were self-reliant on themselves to not notice all of the calamity that was going on in the world. And when you are able to grow your own food, and when you're able to raise your own animals, you do have that ability to print your own money. And you're not going to get rich from that, but it will keep you alive, and it will keep your loved ones alive, and it will provide value to your life and provide value to that generational wealth bucket that you can pass down to your children. Okay? Homesteading is not for the rich. You're not going to get wealthy. And yes, you can get into homesteading very easily and very comfortably if you are rich. And if you are rich, if you have a lot of money, you may see this correctly, you may be seeing this as a way to build an ark for yourself and your family, a safe haven for yourself and your family. In fact, there's a gentleman who doesn't live too far away. He has a homestead, and he's very elderly now, and he's nearing the end of his life, and he built a place that he called Haven's Rest. And I believe it was titled after a song in your hymnal that you may find, Haven's Rest. And but none of his children saw what he did as of being any value. And the last time I talked to him about this years ago, he said that the kids don't even like coming out there. They're probably going to end up selling it at some point, because they don't understand the amazing opportunity that is in front of them, and they don't see the danger of what's going on in the world around them, to seek out a place that could be an ark for themselves and their family. But you may see that. If you have money, if you're blessed enough to have that, then yeah, you might be able to get into homesteading very comfortably and very easily, and with a lot more bells and whistles than a lot of us other people can do. But understand that you can do anything over time. That's something I'm going to talk about probably I'll be at the Marshfield near Springfield, Missouri, the Homesteading Expo coming up here soon. Next weekend, I will be talking in tent number 1, Friday morning, September 6th. I'll be kicking off the day. And we may be talking a little bit about this topic and getting into some of the things that hold homesteaders back from buying that property, because they want to have that perfect property. And unless you're a millionaire, you really can't get it, that perfect property to start. But I'm telling you, you can make it into something that's beautiful and perfect, and that's something, it would be the envy of everyone who comes to see it. You can do that. It takes time, effort, and blood, sweat, and tears, but you can do it. So we may be talking about that. Come visit me at the Homesteading Expo. You can find information just by Googling Homesteading Expo in the Ozarks. Ozarks Homesteading Expo. I will be speaking Friday morning in tent number 1. I hope you come to see me. All right, guys, what do you think? Leave a comment below. Is homesteading only for the rich? I don't believe it is. You can do it. You can do anything. It's about the time, effort, and willpower, sheer magnitude willpower that you put into it. Okay. Check out our merchandise over at teespring.com. You can find our Stupid Should Hurt shirt. If we had more hurt in this world, we'd have an awful, awful lot less stupid. I hope to see you soon. See you next time in the Homestead. Bye. Have you ever gone to a health food store and seen all those small bottles of probiotics in your cooler section? Man, can they be pricey. Are you really getting all you need to improve your gut health from those expensive bottles? How viable are they? Most of those products claim to give you between 8 and 15 strains of gut-healthy healing bacteria. Think of each strain of bacteria as a different factory in your gut. Each factory is responsible for breaking down that food in its own way. The more factories you have, the more the food is broken down and the easier the food is absorbed and digested by the body. A 2018 study published by the National Library of Medicine shows that one fermented head of cabbage can produce up to 114 strains of beneficial bacteria. That's a lot more food factories than you're getting from that expensive pill bottle. And that's just cabbage. Imagine the probiotics when you add garlic, onions, pepper, and more to that ferment. PerfectPickler.com and its home fermentation kits provide you with everything you need to get started making your own gut-healthy food factories from the comfort of your own kitchen. PerfectPickler.com even provides a jam-packed recipe book with many of our kits. Visit PerfectPickler.com and start fermenting your own veggies to begin your journey to better gut health. That's PerfectPickler.com. Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of an American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.